Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Roosters Brewery in Yorkshire once again, and we've got yet another beer from their 25th anniversary series. So it's another collaboration, and this one is done with Thornbridge Brewery, who you've seen me review once or twice before, but it's been a long time since I've had a taste of one of their beers. But definitely looking forward to this one. This one's called the Counterculture. It's an American style wheat beer and it comes in at 5.5% ABV. The other beers that I've had in this kind of anniversary series from Roosters have been pretty good, so I'm looking forward to another one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, it's linked to my other reviews that I've done both from Thornbridge and from Roosters Brewery. No doubt there will be some more from both in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, prefecture, county, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, first off to Roosters Brewery then. So as I've told you a number of times, Roosters Brewery was founded back in 1993 by Sean Franklin and his wife Alison, and they're based in Knaresborough in Yorkshire. But he'd previously founded the Franklin's Brewery, which he then sold on in 1986. So Sean apparently is a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to brewing and storing beer, and he's also been heavily involved with the UK National Hop Association as well. So the brewery initially started off as a cask only brewery, and they became known for actually putting quite a lot of flavour into their beers at a time when most breweries were really starting to strip back. This was the age, of course, of the kind of the export lagers and stuff like that starting to take hold. But they won many awards as a result of this. But in 2001, Sean decided that he wanted to retire, and the brewery was then sold to the Fozzard family. So Ian Fozzard had a background as an accountant, and he'd worked in general management as well. But he'd been a long-time member of CAMRA and was also involved in the Roden Inns group, who'd taken over a lot of inns and real ale pubs throughout Yorkshire and basically given them a new lease of life. But he now runs the brewery with his sons Tom and Oliver, and Oliver actually worked in brewing with the Daleside Brewery in Harrogate and then with Copper Dragon. And when the Fozzards took over the brewery, he worked for a few months with Sean Franklin and basically earned his brewing certificate at the same time. Tom on the other hand had a background in publishing and journalism, and he was working at Beer Ritz in Leeds, and he's now the commercial manager of the brewery as well. But over the years they've continued to increase their capacity, and in 2014 they became one of the first English breweries to install a canning line, and the following year they began to export their beer in 2015, and in 2018, this year of course, they started to celebrate their 25th anniversary. And as I've said in my other videos, it amazes me that until this point, until a few weeks ago when I did my first Roosters review, it amazes me that I hadn't actually heard of this brewery. But again, this was another beer and brewery that was recommended to me by the guys at Market Hall Wines in Durham, so I'll put their Facebook page in the description below as well. But Roosters, I've had some good experiences with these guys. Their beers always strike me as quite interesting because they do still kind of retain that sort of real ale mouthfeel, even though they're kind of canned and bottle conditioned a lot of the time. But that's all you really need to know about Roosters Brewery just now. As I say, check out the website and the Facebook page in the description below if you want to learn a little bit more about them. But a very interesting brewery, and one of the oldest breweries, or one of the oldest craft breweries I guess you would say, in Yorkshire. But anyway, on to Thornbridge Brewery then. So Thornbridge Hall dates back from the 12th century, and this was the home of the Longston family until the late 18th century when it was bought by John Morwood. But the house changed hands many times over the coming years, and it was extended into its current form in 1986 by George Marples. But the house was also a teacher training college for a period after the Second World War in 1945, at which time it was owned by Sheffield City Council. But the house is currently owned by Jim and Emma Harrison, who bought it back in 2002, and the couple also own a few pubs as well. So this is the Cricket Inn in Totby, the Coach and Horses, which is next to the Sheffield United football stadium in the city, and they also own the inn in Tronway, which are all part of the Thornbridge company. But Jim also owns the Packhorse pub, which is in Little Longston as well. But the Thornbridge Brewery themselves were founded back in 2005, and their original brewery was a small 10-barrel operation in the ground of Thornbridge Hall in Great Longston in Derbyshire. But this brew house was apparently a converted joinery and stonemason's workshop, and initially they wanted to produce just a small range of cask cask beers for their local market, but they proved to be very, very popular, and this prompted them to start bottling, and I think they're going to start canning some of the beers as well. But as of 2009, the larger part of the brewery production goes on at the company's new headquarters in Bakewell. However, some of the kind of more quirky beers and things like that are still brewed on the traditional infusion mash system in the old brewery. But the main brew kit was built by Velo, who are from Venice in Italy. There are quite a few companies that have got brew kits from Italy, which is quite interesting. But in 2015, they celebrated their 10th anniversary, and now their production exceeds 30,000 hectolitres of beer per year. So Thornbridge, they have some of their beers that go into the supermarkets. They're one of the bigger volume producers in England these days, but they do produce some really quite nice stuff. I do need to review the Jaipur, which is one of their kind of flagship beers. That's one that I've maybe been meaning to review for quite a wee while actually. There's a lot of plaudits for that beer, and it's one of these kind of go-to IPAs along with the likes of Punk IPA now. It's one of those go-to ones that I've just never tried. I don't know why I've never tried that one actually. But Thornbridge Brewery, they do some really nice stuff. They're starting to experiment with sour beers a little bit now, but you will see some more Thornbridge reviews from me over the next little while. I do need to make sure that I review a couple of those for you. But two very good breweries involved in this one, two long-established English craft breweries actually. So if you get the chance to have a go at this one, I would recommend that you do. But I'm quite excited to taste this one. It should be a really interesting beer. It's not often that you come across the American style wheat beers these days either, particularly in Europe of course. But I'll just give you a little quick look at the artwork on this one before we open up. There you can see the standard rooster symbol. If you look at the bottom there is the Thornbridge symbol as well. 5.5% American wheat beer. On the back here it says Counterculture is an American style wheat beer brewed in collaboration with Thornbridge Brewery, fermented with Roosters house yeast. The beer displays light tropical and citrus fruit hop aromas balanced against a delicate backbone of a malt bill made up of 60% barley and 40% wheat that leads to a smooth mouthfeel and a crisp and refreshing finish. So yeah, sounds pretty good. So without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I've had this one in the fridge for a week or two now, so I've been meaning to actually get the video filmed for it. But as I say, the other beers that I've had in this kind of 25th anniversary series from Roosters have been pretty good, so I'm sure this one will be quite interesting as well. So yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a really quite bright yellow, which is what you would expect from a wheat beer. This one's got a solid, just over a finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, you know, it looks pretty nice, and pretty much what you would expect from one of these nice kind of American style wheat beers. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, that does smell quite nice. So yeah, a little bit of tropical fruit in there as you'd expect, maybe a wee bit of passion fruit I would say. There's a sort of peachy and apricot-y kind of thing going on with this. I wonder if there's a wee bit of an orange quality to it, maybe a little touch of Amarillo or something in there. But yeah, I would say definitely a little bit of peachy apricot note, maybe a wee bit of passion fruit as well actually. But the peaches are the ones that are kind of jumping out at me. It really does smell quite peachy, this beer. A little bit of orangey tangerine like I was saying. The malt base on this one smells quite nice. These beers really do have a kind of distinctive aroma from the malt base. It must just be their malt supplier or something, but all of these kind of Roosters beers definitely have a really distinctive malt base to them. The aroma is really apparent with this beer. So yeah, with this one, I would say, yeah, nice bready note to it. Yeah, definitely like just bready and wheaty. There's not even really a biscuity sweetness to this one, but it is pretty much what you'd expect. It's meant to just be a nice kind of white bready malt base with these kind of wheat beers. The American wheat beers, they do just tend to be a little bit more hoppy and fruity than anything else, but this beer smells pretty nice. It is pretty much what you'd expect on the aroma, so let's have a taste of it and see how we get on. So this is the Counterculture, one of the 25th anniversary beers from Roosters Brewery down in Yorkshire, brewed in collaboration with the Thornbridge Brewery from Derbyshire in England. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, I mean that's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean with this one, it's very, very smooth again, and I think I've said this about these Counterculture beers, and the Roosters beers, they really do have this kind of real ale mouthfeel to them. They somehow, They always seem to get the smoothness in their beers. And I do, you know, I'm sure by now, if I was to taste one of these Roosters beers blind, I could tell you that it was a Roosters beer. I wouldn't be in much doubt about that. But it's you know, it's a nice beer, this one. I do like it, and I do like the mouthfeel that they put in their beers. So with this one, yeah, I mean, I would say with this beer, you can feel there's a little bit of that graininess there. The English malt qualities are starting to come out of this beer. You can feel there's a little bit of that grainy quality that just kind of underpins this beer, and there's a little touch of bitterness comes out from the grainy character in this beer as you kind of go further through it. But then, initially with this one, the smoothness from the wheaty character starts to come in as well. But it's a really nicely done beer, this. I have to say, they've done a good job with that. I do like it in the hoppy qualities. It's got a nice little bit of a hoppy bite to it. That wheaty quality, it's very smooth in the beginning, but then the graininess, like I say, just starts to push its way out. On the hoppy side of things, in the back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness there, but as you come further forward, you do get a little bit of herbal quality in there, and then as you come further forward beyond that, you start to get a little bit of a spicy, floral aromatic note, and then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy as well. Yeah, it's a nice beer, that. I like how it comes across. I mean, just behind the front curve of the palate, there's a little bit of a kind of lemony, oily quality to the beer, which is quite nice. There's a little bit, as I say, there's a bit of a peachy flavour to this one, definitely. There's some of the kind of apricot-y notes too, and a little bit of an orangey flavour kind of underpinning it as well. But overall, it's just it's nice. I mean, all the flavours kind of go together really well in this one. The wheaty quality is a little bit different from what you would expect from an American brewed. An American brewed American wheat ale, if that makes sense. It's not quite as sweet, but then American beers do have a bit of a reputation of being sweeter than the kind of than the English ones, I would guess. A lot of these styles, like the IPAs and stuff like that, did originally come from England, but the Americans have taken them, made them a bit more sugary and a bit more fruity and things like that. The English ones, I guess, are a bit more kind of conservative in that way, and this beer, I think, would suit that description as well. It is nice, and it is easy drinking, and it retains that kind of real ale mouthfeel. For me, this beer kind of comes across as one of these ones that's a little bit more of a kind of, I would say this is a good gateway beer for like a real ale drinker to go to a kind of American style. A more hoppy, big bitter American wheat beer. That's what I would say about this one. It's nicely done, all the flavours go together, and it pretty much has everything you want from the style, but it's not one of the ones I would say that's going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs or fruitiness or things like that. A lot of the flavours in this beer are pretty subtle, I would say, but it's nicely done, and you know what, that's what you want. And it is cool with this collaboration series that they're trying a lot of different styles with it too, but it is pretty much bang on what you would expect from an American wheat beer. So yeah, but just, as I say, not quite as hoppy and fruity as some of the American brewed ones, or even sweet in the malt base. The wheat that you get in the American ones tends to just have that little bit of sweetness to it. But in terms of the mouthfeel then, like I say, it has that trademark kind of Roosters Brewery smoothness to it. It's got that really real ale kind of almost cask conditioned quality to it. I don't know how they do that when it comes to these to the can conditioning beers, but they managed to pull it off somehow. Actually, it's really interesting. But mid-bodied beer, carbonation's quite smooth in this one. As I say, it's the whole feel of the beer is actually pretty smooth. There's a little bit of an oily quality to it. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness, but it's not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs. The malt base is fairly smooth. There's a little bit of sweetness to it, a little bit of a grainy quality coming out of it as well, and a little bit of a juicy fruity character too. But overall, yeah, a nice enough beer. Definitely a gateway beer, I think, to the more kind of hoppy, bitter American beers that are out there. And overall, they've just done a nice job with it. I think that's a good way to kind of sum up this beer. So yeah, let's leave it at that. The Counterculture, an American-style wheat beer, as part of the Roosters 25th anniversary series, brewed in collaboration with the Thornbridge Brewery, another really well-established English brewery. Have a go with this one and see what you think. If you like the kind of real ale feel beers, then you will enjoy this one. If you want a real ale feel but a slightly more pushy English kind of wheat beer, then I guess this is one that you probably are going to quite enjoy. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Roosters Brewery and from the Thornbridge Brewery as well. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and I will catch you guys very soon. Counterculture, an American wheat beer, and I have to say it was a pretty interesting one. Slange just now.